So long as like Alchemy.
All right, y'all, here we go. NBA Alchemy, that NBA life. I got James with me. It's 9:30 Thursday, April 18th. We're underway. The playoffs, the shit's popping. First off, I want to shout out all my patrons. I've got it cracking. I've taken it to the next step. I don't even know, James, if I've told you. What I decided to do was kind of a business decision. I opened up a new tier in my patron called Big Game Coverage. And what it is basically I'm covering the rest of the league during the playoffs, all the big games. So not just Warrior Games on Patreon. It's doing really well, getting a lot of support. I want to shout out everybody because this YouTube business is, it's kind of just to let y'all know what I do. But what I really do is on Patreon. Now, before I get your take on what we've seen in these first few games, James, I have a little bit of, I'm with the shits. You know me, I'm a purist in the sense of like, do what you say, be who you are. Don't like fake. Don't fake. I like things at face value. I don't like shenanigans. And so when you clicked on this, I'm going to give it to you right away. So let's play the sound clip. This is what I hear yesterday from Colin Cowherd. I'm driving back from the gym.
I'm also told this, that the Lakers already have somebody to replace Magic Johnson, and they are communicating with him, and he is okaying all these moves. He is not currently in the Laker building because he is currently running another team in the NBA that's in the playoffs. Now, that could be a handful of people. It could be a Michael Winger with the Clippers. It could be a Bob Myers with Golden State, young smart guy in Toronto. It could be, there's a couple other guys out there. But that's what I'm told this morning.
Okay. So Colin Cowherd, and before he got into that soundbite, he goes, look, I have multiple sources on this. This is Big J reporting. This is big journalism. I'm not just using one source. I've got multiple sources. Talking about who the Lakers are going to hire as head coach, as well as who they're going to hire to take over Magic Johnson's position. And he knows who it is, but he can't say, right? He can't give up his, that's the agreement with his source. But the way he brought up Bob Myers' name second and then kind of stumbled over some other names, it kind of freaked me out, man. As a Warrior fan, it kind of freaked me out because what I thought was, okay, if there was one, we've already heard, if there's one job that could pull Bob Myers away from this organization, it's the Lakers' job. And then I got to thinking, what if Bob just takes Klay Thompson and mobs to the Lakers? just straight, sorry, moves, and he just pulls a real swift one. I got Klay and I'm out.
Yeah. Well, but what do you think is so attractive about the Lakers gig? Is it ultimately just the prestige and the history, or what's so attractive about the Lakers? Why could it pull him away from this wonderful thing he's already built? You think just these top-notch guys are looking for the next pier to climb or next challenge to amass?
Well, and you're right, because initially you go, that's crazy. Why would Bob Myers leave, right? And you kind of think, though, he's smart. You got to give him credit, right? Clearly he's a smart guy. This would be the time to go, right? Where can you go but down if you stay with the Warriors organization, right? And then you have the opportunity. Where can you go from the Lakers organization? Only up. Only up, right? Yeah. And then if you're in Klay's ear, and he's a Californian. I think he's from the Bay. He went to UCLA. He has strong Los Angeles roots, and that just kind of, I was like, man.
That's shocking. That gives me a lot of pause. I feel like some anxiety brewing because, that would just be devastating. And then helping out punk LeBron. We don't know if that's who it is or whatever, but there'd be so many different threads of discomfort. Nobody likes the Lakers. And B, you're about to help out punk LeBron with this executive team that really can put him in his place and put him on the map. That's
Well, and Klay is the ideal player you put next to LeBron. He's gonna Klay will guard whatever wing forward you need, and then he doesn't need to dribble the ball. He's just gonna catch and shoot. You know how many three? I mean, and to sell it to Klay, more opportunity, more spotlight. You're the number 2 guy to LeBron, and you're gonna get all you can eat. You're gonna get 15 threes a night. LeBron's just gonna rip the ball to you up and down the court.
True.
Look, I don't want to.
But would he even want to be? I don't even think he likes that for him.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't. Again, Warrior fans, I don't want to cause like this huge stir of this shit. I'm just saying it crossed my mind, and I was like, oh my god, just because of the way because so like if you have a story and like you can't give up the name, but you know it. You know how you'd throw out a couple. It could be this guy, and it could be Bob Myers, and just the way he delivered it, and the rumors I've heard, and it just got me to thinking like, damn, that would be savage, if you're left with Steph and Draymond. You know what I mean? And you never know, man. Shit, we have to appreciate this run. Now, let's get into this 31-point comeback from the Los Angeles Clippers. Because I had a 20-minute breakdown where I raged on my Patreon. I absolutely raged on Quinn Cook, Steve Kerr, the two MVPs. I went off. And it was honestly, it was such an emotionally draining, like 18 hours watching the game and then doing the breakdown. I just didn't have no juice left for a YouTube video. Like I was done. I left it all on the breakdown. But
yeah,
what was your
talked to you over the text, and I kind of like, I know you said that you didn't need it, but just back in the day, it was always a 24-hour rule. You know what I'm saying? You got to give the man a little bit of time to reflect and come back to earth after the situation. But I know you've stated in your new position that you've moved away from fandom, and now you really have moved into journalism and being a bit more impartial. But I know that's tough to do just on a personal level. But yeah, whenever I was watching, it was just amazing to me because I was cooking. I was out in the back grilling, just hanging out. And all of a sudden I see, okay, they're back. It's 20-point lead. That's weird. Okay, now it's 16 points. Now it's 11 points. What? Now it's tied. Dang, Shamet just hit a 3. Now they're up. So it was just this horrible chain of events that you witnessed. And one thing that stuck out to me was you always get upset with Steph when he does that cross court behind the back heave to the back of the 3-point line pass to KD or whoever's over there just trying to rip it on some Globetrotter type stuff. So he has chilled with some of that, but they really need to check their egos a little bit. You were talking about who's the big center, kind of like Debo, got a Kimbo Slice type vibe to him. You were talking about him in your last video. They moved him down to the 5 for the Clips.
Oh, Montrez?
Yeah, definitely. Like he definitely just grinded. It shows that consistent effort. Eventually, tortoise in the hare is what comes to my mind. It was a kind of a tortoise in hare type situation. They got up, they sped out there super duper fast, had all the momentum, and then got off the gas pedal, and the tortoise eventually built up and beat him at the finish line. So they really need to watch out for that.
Yeah, it was. You're right. The arrogance, that was one of my big takeaways was when I watched it again. And also, so that's what I say, I wasn't like enraged because I could see it coming. You could see it coming as they let him get back in the game. Like I used to just get enraged, right? But now I'm like, So I'm able to be a little more analytical and objective of why it happened, but it still like spends my energy. Like I was up extra late. You know what I mean? And I was up extra early, and so like even at my heart, I'm still a Warrior fan, and it's still just an emotional thing. But the arrogance of their passes, even when they were winning and they were blowing them out, they had like 15 first quarter fast break points. They're throwing the ball all over the place. 80-foot outlet passes. Yes. You like the patented hook over the shot. KD had a turnover on the first possession where it was just like, oh, really? This is what we doing? Like you just throwing the ball in the middle of the court. So there was a ton of arrogance involved in it. And then I give a good portion to Steve Kerr, man, because so this is something that's like obvious, and even like you see this at like any level of coaching. If you have a big lead, you trade offense for defense. And Steve Kerr didn't do that. He played Quinn Cook. Some of these fouls were bad. Like the fourth foul on Steph Curry was bad. Once again, when something like this happens, it has to be a storm of events. And like the fourth foul on Steph was just terrible. You consider how they're letting Beverly basically snuggle Durant's nuts.
Yeah,
each possession.
It's so uncomfortable.
He's rubbing his cheeks and his jock, and so they get Steph out of the game. I think like 2 or 3 minutes into the third quarter. In comes Quinn Cook. Fine, he hits a 3. He hits a jumper. But you have to understand, we're already up 25, 30 points. Livingston, and I know he's had knee problems, is the defensive option. And me personally, I'm like, all right, well, if our defense is good, they ain't coming back. But if we're going to trade buckets and play this offensive pace, it could get somebody going. And I said this in the preview video, and sure enough, it got Lou Williams going. And what really irritated me was during that run from Lou Williams was no one put him on his butt. Look, I'm not saying hurt him. I'm just saying you see it happen to the Warriors all the time. You see it happen to Steph and Katie all the time. When they get going and there's an opportunity when they're moving downhill towards the basket, what does the opponent do, or a smart opponent does? They hard foul them.
Yeah.
Try to break their rhythm. And you had Lou just prancing and dancing, flipping up little shots and touch fouls. At some point, when do you just hammer him and try to break his little 170-pound frame, break his rhythm? And so you can see I'm still a little pissed off about that. I think that was weak as fuck. Kerr gets some blame. And then the two MVPs, man, they didn't show up. Durant, more turnovers than shot attempts. Now, 4 of those 9 turnovers were offensive fouls, and I'm not going to kill him for those. Again, you talk about Beverly, like what are you going to do? Like, you're going to just let him? I just don't know. There's a gray area, a subjective area of giving the player proper space. Like, Beverly is literally like in his shorts. Yeah. And another issue with that is Durant's so long, there's such a size discrepancy. When he does shove off to get space, it's very apparent because his arms, you know what I mean? Like, Durant can't subtly push somebody
Sneak
off.
one in, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was a perfect sequence of events. And then I didn't like the shot Steph got late. And again, they had to foul. It was just everything, man. But at a certain point when it got close, I was like, I hope these fools lose. Because it was just disgusting. It was disgusting that it got to that point. Now, here we are Thursday. I'm going to have a live pregame on my Patreon and talk a little bit more about moving forward, what I've heard. There's a lot of Kevin Durant chatter. Did you see any? I sent you a few clips of that 60-minute special. Everybody's making a big fuss about Durant and how he's really hitting everybody with that body language of, I'm really not trying to hear none of y'all shit.
Exactly. Even what I notice is when the MVP chant comes out, he really will just sit there. It's almost like a man, get away from me type look. We've all seen that before. And yeah, that really does seem to be the stilo. Just basically, I'm not even trying to hear this. I'm just trying to focus on this. But to his credit, he still has decisions to make. It is a business. People tend to forget that. But everybody's a mercenary to some extent. It's pay for hire, or work for hire. But I don't know, man. What do you think the attitude will move into behind the scenes? You think people understand that about him? Because if you can accept that about him, that's what he's doing, that's where he's at, that's where his mind is, you might still be able to rock with it. But you think it's turning people off?
It's so hard to say, man. It's so hard to say. Steph and Clay will never let you see it, right? Draymond, obviously, we've seen it. And but apparently, from those close to the team, because the people that get to be in the arena, they get to see these little interactions that are not on camera, right? These little bench interactions. And he was given Livingston attitude. And it's been pretty clear now for a better part of a year and a half is that he's not feeling Steve Kerr. And that's one thing. Let me get back. One thing to the end of that game is we talked about arrogance and ego. There is an arrogance and ego to Steve Kerr and his offense, because it's like he wants credit by having this complicated off-ball action all the time. The bottom line is, when the game gets tight like that, you've got 2 of the greatest offensive players of all time clear out and go to the pick and roll. It's that simple. Because what you switch, and then and what it also does is it allows Harrell and Lou Williams to stay on the floor. If we continue to go, you see Houston do it every time down. Right? Pick and roll, and you get one of Steph or Katie switched onto Harrell or Lou Williams, and you put that pressure on them so then they don't come cruising back down in their little pick and roll slip every time. It was egregious mishandling of that. How do you not clear out and call a pick and roll the last 5 minutes of the game? Instead, you've got Steph and Clay trying to run this action that they're not really trying to run. It was just, there's a real arrogance to Kerr's shit as well. I'm not afraid to say it, but what I was getting to is Katie doesn't like Kerr. It's pretty clear. I'm not saying it started that way, but at this point, he ain't feeling Kerr. So the chemistry is so fragile. I know that the rest of the NBA and the NBA fans are salivating over the possibility that this is the end of the run. And I'm not going to front. I'm concerned, man. I'm concerned. But this is what makes it fun. This is what makes it fun because it's like I've watched basketballs for so long, and I know age and time is relative, but like I knew this wasn't going to last forever. It ain't going to last forever, but I'm going to appreciate this shit, and hopefully we can get this three-peat. But the Rockets look really good, man. They look really good.
They do.
But I will say, like, look, they're playing good. The Rockets look good. They're healthy. They look good. But let's keep it real. Utah is playing like fucking trash.
Yeah, I really appreciated what you said the other day about how people take stuff way too literally, where you tell them to slow down and they literally just freeze. It's almost like a linebacker. You tell them, I need you to stay in the middle of the field. And they literally just go to the 50-yard line. Like, nah, dummy, I need you to kind of move left and right within the middle of the field and play this zone. But yeah, it was amazing what's happening out in Utah. They look just dry. Like they don't have any juice. It's crazy what's happening to them. They literally are taking things way too literally. It was so easy for Harden just to. I think what people should talk about more with Harden is his intellect. He obviously is a pretty cerebral guy because when you think about it, MVP possibilities, 3 years, just being in the mix. He's really come from he's overcome a lot of different things. You talked about his physical structure, and his mind probably is his biggest asset because he really picks people apart. And just that floater, he never misses that. Whenever he goes straight down the lane, tell me how many times have you seen Harden get blocked? I could be wrong, but he obviously is very calculated with the shots he's taking and his positions on the floor. And then if you're just going to wall him off, he just ripped him up in the paint. It was just very embarrassing. I don't know why their game plan is what it is.
Yeah, it's disappointing. And you're right. You nailed it. Harden clearly his IQ's off the charts. And it's all IQ and skill based, right? He's not, he's an all right athlete. I'm not going to take away from him, but he's not like a special athlete. I know that I've read about his deceleration. Like he's really good at stopping and going. And that's a special attribute, but he's not an off the charts athlete. I think he's an average NBA athlete. It's his intellect and his skill level. And then also his mental stamina. And we physical, we've seen him wear down at times, but the mental stamina to dominate the ball like that every game is if you don't hoop, you may not understand it. But if you're constantly being relied upon to generate offense every possession, that wears you down mentally.
Yeah, sure. Because I think they stated, what was it? He had 32 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 6 3-pointers. Chris Paul, 17 points. Eric Gordon, 16 points. PJ Tucker, 16 points. And I think they drilled 17 3-pointers altogether as a squad. So the offense is clicking. Good things are happening for them, and they've got that fight. They've got that dog in them. They're probably upset about people counting them out. So they're definitely going to be on the sneak. The Warriors better really peep game and realize you can't take off the gas pedal against this up and coming level. They're definitely hungry. They're definitely hungrier. And what's more concerning to me is they have better chemistry right now. They're all bought in. They all have their established roles. You see them on the bench. I saw a clip of them on the bench with an iPad up 30, and they're looking at what they can do better and how they're being attacked, or lack thereof being attacked, really, because I tweeted out, I've already talked about the yielding to the right, or yielding and sending Harden right, and they're just doing it way too easily. But the other strategy that's just really, I may look at Quinn Snyder differently after this series, because the other strategy of allowing the corner three, if you watch when Harden drives and Mitchell, it's usually Mitchell on that weak side. He heads towards the middle of the floor back at Eric Gordon, and they leave Tucker in his hot spot. And they've been doing it over and over again, wide open. And that to me is yo, I'm stopping that. I'm stopping that the first quarter of game one. Okay, maybe try it, but once he's hit 3 of them, that to me is crazy. And Utah, they just look scared out there. They don't look like the same team that I've seen from a Quinn Snyder team. Rudy Gobert looks like a fucking baby giraffe out there, wobbling around on his stilts. And another thing that
had texted me about Donovan Mitchell and what I said, he's kind of half baked as an offensive player. And I brought this up in a breakdown of mine about it's really apparent to me. Maybe someone can help me out in the comments. When did Donovan Mitchell start playing basketball? Because it looks like he picked it up late. He does a lot of things that you're like, like that. He's really raw. Like, he's a nice athlete. He's very likable, right? You know what I mean? His effort is there, except on that first turnover in the first quarter. It was like, bro, what are you doing? He watched the ball roll into the backcourt. Eric Gordon's. Anyway, but he does a lot of things that like lead me to believe that he hasn't played as much basketball as a lot of these other guards who started playing, club ball at 8 years old.
No, yeah, as a question, the thing that I would pose as well, too, when you look at Oladipo, or at least in his prime, whenever he was contributing, like if you look at their two skill sets and knowledge bases, I think that might be a parallel that you may be able to look into in relationship to years played and knowledge acquired. But yeah, that's an interesting point. That was something that you had mentioned to me, because I was just thinking like, man, he seems like the cat on Get Out. Like, you got to get out of Utah just in general. It's a weird place, just as a side note, but it's just kind of crazy, man.
No, yeah, I mean, we'll see if how they extend. That's a real issue for Utah, is how are they going to, let's be real here. I'm not going to throw a number out because I don't know it. The majority of NBA stars are African American, right? And how many young black dudes want to play in Utah? That's just the reality of it. Now, they drafted Donovan, but what I'll get a little more into detail. You can tell like he has no plan, like specifically offensively. Like he can break his guy down, he gets to the paint, and he just really doesn't have a plan. He just kind of gets there to see and he sees what happens. And it reminds me of Giannis. But because we know Giannis picked the game up late too, right? The difference is Giannis is 7 feet tall. He doesn't have to have a plan. He can come waltzing into the paint and then just figure it out on the fly. Donovan Mitchell's 6'1". He has to be way more cerebral than he is. And a lot he puts himself in these precarious situations and he hoists up these bad shots. And it's like, dude, you got to be more cerebral. You're not that big and athletic enough to just go off athleticism. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like how Russ plays, right? But the difference is, again, Russ is 6'4" and was another level of athlete in his prime where he could get away with it, right? He could get away with
bounce, much more strength. Yeah.
He could get away with just downhill and figure it out in the air. Mitchell is not that big and not that athletic. He's a nice athlete, but you see a lot of that. And so like, look, he's a fine player, but I mean, I think he's been kind of forced into be this ball dominant guy and that's not him. The other thing I noticed is, boy, Austin Rivers has some fucking cankles. Austin Rivers has like some 2x4s, dude. Like, I want y'all to notice next time they play, like Austin Rivers looks like he's got some tree trunks. And I guess the last thing I'll say is like, Rocket fans, y'all should be excited. And let me be clear, I want the Rockets. I want the Rockets in the second round as a Warrior fan.
Smoke. Okay.
I want them, but I don't need them Deion Sanders high stepping into the second round.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, if you see me complaining on Twitter and really taking a shit on Utah, it's one, because they deserve it. And two, I need Utah to put up some kind of fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't need Houston coming in on 100. Like we are the greatest thing ever. PJ Tucker hasn't missed a three in the series. Like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. And so yeah, Utah, if they don't change their strategy, I think I may come away looking at Quinn Snyder a bit different. They're just not as tough as I thought they were. You got, what's his name? Royce O'Neal was the only dude with letting his nuts hang, and he's he's the sixth most talented player on the team. What else do we have here? Kyrie went off last night, 37 points in a comeback against the Pacers. And he's clutch as hell, man. He's clutch as hell. You know I don't want to throw no compliments his way. But it really go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to the dude that always listens to you and takes your takes. Just want to say hello real quick.
Oh yeah. Well, who is? I mean, we could get a list of those, but nah. But what I was gonna say is, it made me realize again. I'm gonna relate this back to the Warriors a little bit, but what's ironic to me is is, let's say KD and Kyrie join in New York next year. KD is going to find himself in the exact same dynamic that he is in with Steph. And that being that Kyrie is going to get the love. Kyrie's going to get the love because he's the flashy player, right? And he's going to be the closer. Make no mistake about it. I guarantee you. Now, obviously, you can't take this on a every game basis, but that's kind of like Kyrie's calling card, right? Like Kyrie's greatest attribute is his ability to close out and score, like ISO 101, right? And so it's going to be, let's say the Knicks, they're a playoff team, they're doing well, right? It's going to be Kyrie closing games. It's going to be clear out. Kyrie, did you see Kyrie's move? Right?
Yeah, and this nigga's to me in the back like, yeah, you were seeing me too. I'm like, yeah, but what about Kyrie? You know,
that's what I'm saying. It's going to be one. It's going to be, you're going to get less because Kyrie dribbles more than Steph. And then two, it's going to be the same dynamic because Kyrie will get the credit. Everybody will be talking about his moves, his late game moves and finishes. But then, KD, you're the best player on the team. If y'all don't make it out the second round, KD, it's your fault. You're better than Kyrie, KD. You're the guy. So
it's like being the oldest sibling. It's a shitty situation to where, like, if you don't watch your little brother and sister, you get in trouble, but it was them that really had slipped it up, and you just basically have all the responsibility with very little credit, and you're overlooked because you usually shine. Like, if you look at a family that has 3 kids or 4 kids, you have these different roles, and in general, being the oldest, whether you're male or female, is a tough position because your parents, if they go out of town, they can watch the kids if you're a teenager. If something goes wrong, well, why didn't you tell me what your sister was doing? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. So if you think of a family dynamic, it was almost like KD would be the older brother who mom or pops is coming to, like, well, you get all of the responsibility and we just carte blanche take away the accolades. You don't get all the praise because it's expected. But your little brother could do something whack, and everyone's just cheering and making cakes and fucking buying tons of shit.
I like that. But and you get it then, right? Because don't you foresee that being the case? Like that's absolutely what's going to happen. Kyrie,
especially in NY too. Those cats are harsh out there.
And they love and his style is so. That's why Kyrie is so popular. Don't get me wrong, he's good. He's an all-star. But like, what really gives him his popularity is his style of play, right? It's like I've never seen nothing like it. It's crazy. It's amazing to watch. And so he's going to get the glory. And think about also New York hoopers. What do they love? The fucking handles.
Oh yeah,
they love the handles.
Shit.
They love the handles.
Park,
come on, man, KD, you ain't gonna get that credit there either, boy. But hey, do what you got to do. Just don't fuck up this shit right now. Just play your part. Play your part right now. 3-peat. Anyway, what else? I guess in that Indiana game too, Indiana had the lead. Indiana's feisty, but what I am very disappointed in Miles Turner. The 7-foot lesbian. That's not appropriate. I'm sorry, y'all. But I remember his rookie year seeing him, and I was like, oh, this dude's going to be super nice. Like, I loved his footwork, his fluidity as an offensive player, and I understand, what does he lead the league in block shots? I understand he's an important part of what they do, but at this point, I'm disappointed in him because in crunch time, whenever I turn on a game, basically, I'm left wanting more from Miles Turner. Like he's never aggressive enough, and you can literally kind of like see his sack just retract into his stomach during crunch time. Like, it's like, I know you have to play him. Like, he's one of your young cornerstones of the franchise, but like, and you saw them collapse at the end of that game with a couple turnovers and misreads defensively. And Miles Turner, if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in him, and he just ain't got the juice. We talk about it all the time. Like, oh, I like him. He got the juice, right? He got the juice. You ain't got it. You ain't got it. Miles Turner, I've seen enough seasons of him to understand now that he's never going to be a superstar. He's not. He's gonna be like your third best player at best if you're a good team. I got a gym PSA for you. What does PSA even stand for? I'm not going to front.
Public service announcement.
Okay. See, yeah. See, you're right. I've just heard it used, so I'm going to use it. I've got it fits though. I'm right in saying it. I've got a gym PSA. If you and this goes, kids. I used to work at a group home. Shout out my guys that still follow me. I got to come see y'all. A lot of them are growing up. They're about to be adults. But I've seen this a lot at that age, and you understand it at that age, right? But when you're grown and you're in the gym, let's be clear that gym clothes have a shorter lifespan than your other apparel. And your favorite T-shirt from college, right? Or your lucky draws, like they may be all well and good when you go to the mall or you're watching the game at home. But when you're in the gym and you start to heat up and there's moisture, you're lighting up a whole area of the gym. You feel me?
Yes, sir. Especially with the hoops. At least with football, you're outside. But yeah, there's nothing more disgusting than walking by an area and somebody is just really lighting it up, like you're saying, because it's a very personal experience that you don't want to share with them. Like, keep that to yourself. Like,
right? Because and you're thinking, because I'm not even gonna front. It's happened to me. Where you're like, yo. I showered, like I'm checking. I got deodorant, and then I realized, oh, it's the shirt. The shirt is a no-go, so you toss it. You got to toss it. Right. You got to toss it. And you know what I've noticed? It's a lot of the older men. I'm talking like between 50 and 60, and they may have some like gloves, some workout gloves or something, and it's like, woo!
Don't get me started on the gloves.
Dude, it's like, yo, you realize like you can shower, you can be clean, what you're wearing ain't clean. And now that you're sweating, a quadrant of the gym smells like your gym bag.
Yeah, that shit's mad nasty. Or people who don't wash their clothes right with the mildew. That's real messed up. I can't. So you combine the mildew, the sweat stains, the sheer material because it's been worn hella thin. It's just really a very bad scenario.
Right, and you see it with the kids, and like the kids with that's why you want to keep your J's fresh. You got all your little Vans lined up. Don't wear old socks in them. You about to body them shits. You about to body in Arizona. In the Arizona heat, you about to body your shits with some maybe socks, bro. Like, anyway, that's my little go off on that. You got anything else for me?
Nah, man, just the Bucks, Pistons. Like you said, it's very unenjoyable. It's really not that fun to watch, to be quite honest. But yeah, Andre Drummond did a little bit better, but I don't know.
Right, because you and I know you're a busy man, so you get in where you fit in with the games, and you were like, I'm about to check this Bucks Detroit game out. I was like,
yeah, you were like, I don't know if that's really what you want to do. So yeah, I tried to look at it, but it just wasn't all that entertaining.
They did Detroit did what they needed to do in this playoffs, and they won a half. Mm-hmm. They won one half of basketball. And like they can hang their hat on that. I mean, with Blake out, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Like I like Kennard. I don't know how many more years Blake has. Just because of his injury history. I'd trade Drummond for like a bag of hot Cheetos, but that's just me. Drummond, Drummond is like Miles Turner. He's very similar to Miles Turner. Now they're not the same player, but they always leave you wanting more. I don't care about the number. I don't care when he has 20s and 20s. I don't care.
Oh, yeah. One thing that I found interesting, too, you were talking a little bit about a trade on your last video. I think it was Ben Simmons for somebody.
Ben for Draymond. Ben for Draymond.
What were you trying to say? What is that even possible? Or is that just speculation? Or?
Yeah, no, I was more kind of making a point. So Ben Simmons, Rookie of the Year, #1 pick. And he was being, kind of like, he was young. He's the young king. He's the young King LeBron, right? And he was getting those comparisons along with Magic Johnson. And, he even said, I want to go learn the big guard secrets from Magic. I don't know what kind of big guard secrets you're going to learn from Magic. Yeah, but I'm being perverse. No, but but anyway, the point of the hypothetical trade was Ben is closer to being like Draymond than he is to being like LeBron. Now, at game 2, he came out and he looked a lot better. And his potential is way greater than Draymond's because of his attributes, right? Mm-hmm. He's much more physically gifted. He's bigger. But I was just kind of making the point like, yo, you kind of like, they're gapping you. You don't shoot. You're a good defender. You like to get the rebound and push the ball. That's all you do. And he doesn't even have
criteria for Draymond.
And he doesn't even have half Draymond's intangibles. Like, right? He's not like a vocal leader or like a grimy player like that. So that was kind of my point is like, yo, is he closer to Draymond than really like LeBron? You know what I mean? And then he, like I said, he had a better game. But I think there's an arrogance to Ben Simmons that leads me to believe that he may not develop like we'd like him to. Because just even the fact that he's shooting with the wrong hand, I've gone into that. And he doesn't like bend his legs at the free throw line. Like I've read this thing that coaches keep telling him that, yo, you just got to bend your legs. It's like, yo, okay, man.
He just won't do it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you may want to do that. You may want to use your strong hand. That may help. So I liked his aggression in game 2, but that was kind of like an answering of the bell. Like, of course they were going to step up in that game too. I think more importantly, Embiid looked better, healthier. But yeah, that was my point. And it would be because like, think about it. That would be, I mean, in a crazy world, if you swap them, Ben with Clay and Steph, that's exactly what he needs because you're putting him with the 2 greatest shooters and he can kind of be that. Imagine him in the Draymond role.
Oh my Lord.
He would be nasty moving because they'd get him downhill with shooters everywhere. It would be nasty.
Distributing.
It would be nasty.
Did you check and speaking of stuff that's not that interesting as well, did you check any of the Nuggets Spurs or not really?
Yeah, I checked that out. The Nuggets battled back. I'm picked the Spurs to win. Again, I think the Spurs are going to win, man. Denver barely got out of that if it wasn't for Jamal Murray's fourth quarter. And Jamal Murray's their only hope. I said it before, and people have got on me about, talking shit about Jokic, the next great white hype, the despicable me. But Jokic is, and for Denver to be a contender, Murray has to be their best player, in my opinion. They need to continue they need to ride. If they're going to play Rudy Gay at the 4, San Antonio, they need to force feed Millsap because Millsap's a bully in there. I know Rudy Gay is bigger than maybe people think. You know what I'm saying? But Millsap should be able to bully him. But Murray, I think Murray's the key to their success. I don't see it this year. Like, they have a bright future. Jokic is an all-star. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying he's not the guy. He's not the guy. He's Robin. So who's your Batman? That's my point.
Decent.
Yes, sir. But I guess we'll wrap this up. I'll have some more stuff again through the weekend on YouTube and whatnot. I'm trying to spread my content out. But if you're missing my takes, go check the Patreon out, man. Go check it out. The shit's fire. That's how I eat. That's where my focus is. If you think, oh, you're not really putting that much, no, I'm putting shit out like almost every day on there. So go peep that. I'm live this evening before the Warriors game 3. I expect them to come out and really look like something. We'll see though. All right, James. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man.